Yo, welcome back. And this week, the market crashed so bad that we have to speak about it because the most valued company in the world, valued for 1 trillion dollars, lost 17% of its value because an unknown company to most released an open source model. How is that possible? Let's find out together. Only a few days ago, we had Trump at the White House, all very proud, with Sam Altman and Larry from Oracle and Masa from SoftBank saying, hey, you know what? We're gonna throw $500 billion for a data center because we are so cool. Elon was like, they don't actually have the money. But the Microsoft guy was like, I'm good for my 80 billion. And we have Sama, that is like the guy owned 5% of NVIDIA before like selling it too early. And he's also the guy who actually bankrolled the WeWork guy for like 50 billion and he lost them all. So he could actually just give some money to my auntie and we will be better off forever. So Sama, please do that. But that's the idea behind these guys. It's like, let's throw some money to AI because the more GPU we have, the better the model should be. And that's a very insane idea. And many have been saying that there is no linear correlation anymore between the GPU used and the model output. And that's what DeepSeek just proved. And DeepSeek, if you use AI locally on your computer, you know them already because they have been like releasing other models before. But they released this model and this model is different. Why? Because it's better. It's so much better that it's like the benchmark are incredible and they're like outmatching ChatGPT R1. And second, it's free because it's open source. Open source, of course, as open source is meant in the AI world, so we cannot actually see the weight and the data set inside and the training that's been used completely, but we can download it and we can fine tune it and we can do with the model whatever we want at no cost whatsoever. And of course, that's a disastrous news if you're trying to make billions of dollars out of your own model. They release an academic paper that is very detailed, explaining the training methodology that they used. And this is also kind of an exception because transparency standards today are very low. When releasing a model, we don't actually know anything. And they explain their process, and their process is like we do our own model with $6 million. Poof. $6 million is probably the budget at OpenAI for the Twix supply that they need in one of their vending machines at the third floor in their headquarters. That's $6 million for OpenAI. They have 4,000 employees. They're spending billions of dollars like never before. And all of a sudden, these Chinese guys are like, I don't have access to your GPU because there is the embargo. Let me find another way to actually make a better model. And they could make that. So how was possible for them to train this model for $6 million only? So, there is this very nice thread where they explained what's different about the training of DeepSeek AI. And so I thought I'd just read it with my very strong Italian accent. And so let's go. So first things first is like usually when you train a model, each number has 32 decimal places, while they thought, okay, what if we just use 8 and it's still accurate enough? And boom, 70% less memory needed. Then what they did is that they created a multi-token system. So normal AI, it's like each word is a token, and so they read like that, the cat sat. But what they thought was like, let's do this multi-token so they could process like 2 times faster, and that was another like huge saving of memory. And then we have this huge clever bit where they created this kind of expert system that instead of having like one massive AI trying to know everything, they created some specialized experts that only wake up when needed. Then what you had as a result is that if usually you have that one model has 1.8 trillion parameters that are active all the time, DeepSeek, they could achieve Out of a total of 671 billion parameters, they could use only 37 billion parameters active at once. And that, of course, is a huge saving in terms of memory. The results are mind-blowing, because the training cost for from an average of $100 million, like that's for example what Anthropic spends, like they could reduce it to 5 millions. The GPU needed from 100,000 to 2,000, and of course the API cost was like 95% cheaper than ChatGPT. So I let you guess how crazy that can be, because like when you're spending billions of dollars out of AI models and you want to profit as much as possible, you know, the fact that they created like just an alternative way of training a model that can outmatch like the biggest player in the industry, it's crazy, right? You know, I'm a huge supporter of AI in local, and you have to run your own AI models in local on your computer and be in charge of your own prompt. And I'm very tired of this centralization of AI, where we have these huge corporation that we have to pay like $20 a month only to have our own prompts being fed to their own model for training. And that's not cool, Sam. No, 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 not cool. No. And so what happened with DeepSeek is that all of a sudden, what is usually a niche of a few like AI people like using Olama and other options to run models in local, it went completely mainstream. And as DeepSeek was going viral and gaining traction, we had people that were like, okay, this is so cool that is it maybe a problem? Of course, in the States, where there were like people like Mark Anderson who started tweeting like, okay, DeepSeek R1, it's AI Sputnik moment, thinking we're back in the 60s. Americans freaked out because they thought like the Russians could only eat potatoes, and all of a sudden they were like sending rockets up in the sky. And X currently is like, it's all full of these tech lords that are huge Trump supporter, MAGA, dark MAGA, American is God, we're gonna win everything. And then all of a sudden you had this Chinese guy saying, you know what, 6 million best AI model, now what? And all of a sudden, of course, they got really scared, because of course all that open source that is usually technical, it became mainstream, and tutorials started floating in, where you had people teaching how to install DeepSeek on private and on local on the iPhone, how to use it and to create a Perplexity clone completely free, how to have it on Cursor as an AI assistant instead of having Cloud Sonnet. So all of a sudden it was everywhere. And then the incredible happened. The DeepSeek native app topped the US App Store. Now, was it that organic traffic? Was it botted? We don't know. And the market honestly doesn't care. People woke up in Japan, they saw that, and they short the hell out of the market. And all of a sudden you had that the NASDAQ index was like breaking down, losing more than 200 points. And that was on Sunday. So it was like Monday morning Japan market, where they started shorting the market like crazy. And then market by market, as the world was waking up on Monday, everyone was just selling and shorting and shorting and selling. And at the end of the day, you had that NVIDIA lost 17% of its value, and that's like 600 billions. Is the biggest loss that a stock ever had in the history of capitalism, and that's kind of crazy. At Davos, people started giving interviews about DeepSeek because it was the talk of the day. And you had the CEO of, I don't remember the company, I think Scale, that started saying, okay, of course, the guys at DeepSeek, they have tons of GPUs that they just cannot claim because of the embargo. And when that interview went viral on X, you had Elon that commented, obviously. And so, like, yeah, we don't know, right? But at the same time, that's the state of the art right now. And we know that the market is completely irrational because, of course, DeepSeek being released and being the talk of the world for one day, it can only be good for NVIDIA, right? Now, the real question is, we know that the market was super bullish on AI in the last 2 years, and therefore we had these crazy valuations. And there are two elements that we must consider. The first one is that NVIDIA acts as a monopolist by definition because they're the sole player and they sell their products with 80% of margin. But for the music to keep going, you need the theory that you need massive data centers to train new AI models. That second issue is that, we had OpenAI has a crazy valuation of $450 billion for a products that the other big tech firm actually gave away for free because everyone wanted to compete with OpenAI, but all the other big tech firm, they have other products and other revenue streams. So they actually started to release their own GPTs for free, because you had Meta releasing Llama for free and open source. You had Elon releasing Grok as part of X Premium, and even Gemini with his mixed results being coming out with like a very reasonable price. While for OpenAI, the only business model is the one that is charging for. So we already had this situation where OpenAI had this crazy business model that it's not really sustainable in the long term, and everyone was like, okay, we are gonna try to kill you the bad way. We're gonna try to compete with you with a business model that you cannot match. And now with DeepSeek actually claiming that you don't need all those money to train a model, this could potentially get the OpenAI house burned to the ground. Well, then this brings us to the last question: what this means for all of us. Well, first of all, if you didn't know, now you know. Open source local AI is the only way to go. So just get your DeepSeek on your own computer, on your own phone, and use it. Yes, as they claim, if you use the DeepSeek version on the DeepSeek website, your data will go to the Communist Party and wherever, but that's not the point. The point is that it's open source and you can use it on your own machine. So let me know if you would like to have some tutorials with my very funny Italian accent. I will be happy to do so. Ciao, thanks for listening.